Hello there, retro heads. Benny Williams here from A Hermit's Hideaway. Welcome back to the channel. It is, well, it has been that time of year again. It's come and gone. The Retro Revival event 2018 last weekend has gone. It is now Sunday the 27th, is it? Is it the 27th of May? Yes, Sunday the 27th of May. I would have already been home for a few hours this time last week on the last day of the event. So a little bit of a backstory about the event quickly. The very first one I went to was either in 2014 or 2015, and that was Revival of Winter Warmer. It was a very smaller event. It was much more low-key. It was sort of done in an almost... It was almost a bit like a village hall, but on a bit more of a better scale. So I think it was probably a sports hall, maybe a village sports hall or something. I can't quite remember what it was, but it was quite a small room, but they packed that out really well, utilised space well. I do have a video of that on my channel if you want to check out what that one was like, the very first one that I went to. And what can I say about this amazing event? And I'm not just saying it because of being biased and being a friend of the organiser Craig Turner, who I only became friends with through his amazing event anyway. It's gone from strength to strength. So last 3 years, I think it is now, Craig has been using the Bescott Stadium in Warsaw. It used to be the Banks's Stadium, the football ground. The great thing about that place is that obviously it's in the West Midlands, it's very easy to get, it's very central for the whole of the UK for everyone to get to. It's just off the motorway by just a couple of miles really, not too far at all. And it's got the capacity, it can hold a lot of people, so it's the perfect place for an event such as this to be held. As I say, the last 3 years the event's been held at the Bescott Stadium. Last year was a similar sort of event to the first one they put on the Bescott Stadium. It was the one big conference room and everything was ram-packed inside there. Again, like Winter Warmer, Craig utilised the space very well, the way he got all the traders in there, the arcades, the home computers and things like that. But every single year he's pushed to make the event better than the last one, and this year is a huge exception to how much better and bigger he's made it. So what he's basically done is doubled the floor space. The conference room is a big massive room anyway, and there's a talks room down the ramp which is just off the canteen area, which is connected to the main conference room. So you go down the ramp and then you come into a big massive conference room again, a second conference room, and as you go down that way I think there's a few changing rooms and things like that, and there's another smaller conference room which is used for the talks normally. Craig was able to get a great deal this year and managed to get the conference room which is attached to the talks room as well, so it was equally the same size as the main conference room that is used for the last 2 years, now 3 years, obviously with this event just gone, but he's absolutely doubled it. It was incredible the way he'd done it. So the walkthrough video that I did will differ massively over the last 2 events before this event. It was fantastic the way he did it. As you first walk in, on the right hand side where Craig's good wife, his good lady and the team take the tickets, they got everyone through really quickly. There was no messing about at all, not long of a waiting time. And then you come to your first set of traders in a row, and behind that you had Alex from Nintendo Arcade, who's got an incredible collection of rare Nintendo arcades and machines. The rarest one he's got is an upright called Sheriff, and he also did, which by the way I did a podcast with him, an RGDS podcast with this, about Sky Skipper, which was an unreleased Nintendo arcade cabinet that when it went out for playtesting it didn't do very well, so it got converted to Popeye instead. So the only known one in the world is in Nintendo of America. As you can find out, I don't know if you know the story, you might be familiar with it, you might not be, so I highly recommend you either go back to our GDS podcast and listen to the episode that I did with Alex Crowley, or you can go and find him a Nintendo Arcade on YouTube where he's done a video on it, and it's absolutely fascinating. It's an incredible story, and the way he's managed to copy the original and how it's all came about, how they've got access to it, and they've been able to scan the whole side art. Sorry, I'm waffling a little bit anyway, but Alex is an incredible guy. It was very, very good of him to come in and share his incredible arcade collection and for us to be able to play it, which is just so generous and so nice of him. And it's always great to catch up with Alex. He's a top guy. So from there was a small row of home computers, I think there was, and in the middle there was Alan's imports. Obviously, main focus on import games, things like that. Opposite him is a stage where you had the Retro Lords there doing the competitions. They've had some amazing guests there this year. They had They had Dave Perry of Games Master fame. He attended the event last year, and it was more him visiting the event and finding out what's going on. And behind the scenes, him and Craig and the team have been putting together a new feature, a new TV show called Gaines Animal TV. The idea is it was just going to be a pilot sort of thing, a one-off. So while Dave was there, he was doing some of the tournaments and he was doing the commentary for them, which was absolutely fantastic. The guy's back at it. He's on the scene again. He's thoroughly enjoying that. That would not have happened without all of Craig's hard work and the way he reached out to him. As you'll see on the walk around, there's some amazing little Dino King arcade cabs, which are just, if you know what candy cabs are, or they're the Japanese arcade cabinets, which have sort of like got the melamine frame on them, so they're normally white and they've got a gorgeous screen on them. And they're sit-down cabs as well, which is normally fantastic. You need not that it's got a seat built in. You use a stool to sit at it or a chair or whatever. So, but you've got to sit down to play them. This is a mixture of a few LAN party things. There was a Mario Kart Double Dash multiplayer going on there, which was great. There was 2 sides of 4 with the GameCube and lots of Neo Geo stuff for anyone into their Neo Geo. It was brilliant. It was Neo Geo heaven. It was really, really good. Loads more traders on the first conference room, up in the corners, utilising the space as usual. One of my favourite ones, as usual, Tibber's Workshop, where she makes these amazing little clay figurines. She doesn't paint them at all. She just uses different pieces of clay and carves it out and sticks it to give it the detail, give it the different colours, the features, all this and the other. And the way she does it, you would think that she's hand painted it. It looks phenomenal. This year I think she's had a laser engraver, so she's done these really great coasters and things like that you can buy. They look fantastic. So you have Conquer from Conquer's Bad Fur Day. It's anything that you could think of. She could scale it down and put on these coasters really, and I think they were probably a really, really hot seller there. So that's probably pretty much enough about the first floor. Going down onto the second conference room was the place to be. That was the better room. Absolutely full of arcades, full of home computers. I said that it was like the Neo Geo heaven in the first conference room. Going down to the second one was like Amiga heaven. They had every sort of Amiga going in there. It was amazing to see. Lots and lots of rare computers without the support of the community and Craig's friends and people loaning their pride and joy consoles and all their games that come to this event, so the likes of we can play them if we've never experienced or played them before. It's amazing that people will do that. It's absolutely fantastic. Loads and loads and loads of fantastic arcade machines in there. There was Juno first, there was Robotron, there was Crazy Kong, which has a beautiful bezel on it. absolutely amazing. If you didn't know, Crazy Kong is, I believe, is a hack of Donkey Kong. And it made its way, it had its own dedicated board and a proper arcade machine made on it. Whether it was a sort of homebrew style thing, I don't know. I don't know all too much about arcade machines, I've got to admit. There was Qbert there, which Victor Marland from Tenpence Podcast brought with him, and it's got a knock on it, so every time Qbert falls or dies, there's this boom sort of knock on it built in, so it's it's supposed to knock the way it does, and that was very cool. I had a good few goes on Qbert, and I was just terrible at it. I'm no good at the game at all. What else did we have? There was Thunderstorm 3, which that was a great arcade. That was really good because it had a thruster on it, and then it had the control stick to move around and the fire buttons on top. But the joystick, it had a really long throw on it, so it was like you could literally go like that and move around like that. It was almost like, I don't know, sort of imagine controlling a tractor with a joystick that moves around all like that, and I think it was a bit like that. So it was a bit clunky, it was a bit clumsy, incredible the design and the thought, but I just didn't feel that it all fit together too well, or I just wasn't very good at it at all. It's probably more likely that, to be honest. What other sort of classics did they have there as well? Gyrus, I was absolutely hooked on playing Gyrus. It's my favourite arcade game. I broke my personal best high score on there. I got 111,110 points to start with, and then I vastly improved on that because I kept playing it. Even though I got it at home, I could play it on my bar top whenever I want. I kept going back to it, and I kept playing it over and over again. And Garen, my good friend from RGDS podcast, managed to get on the high scoreboard. He got over 150,000 on it, which is incredibly impressive. It was amazing to see. The high score was 180 odd thousand, which again impressive, but I think with more practice Garen could probably get that easily. I did go on to better my high score again, which I got 150 odd thousand. I was 2,000 points below Garen's score and getting on the scoreboard, which is a shame, but I congratulate Garen on that because he's an excellent player on that game. There was Time Pilot as well. That started to go a little bit funny, and I think there was about 90 arcade machines all in all. There was just so many. What else did we have? Chris Parsons, big massive Vectrex guy, big massive Game & Watch guy. He's also known as Chris CMP, and Alex from Nintendo Arcade did a great room tour sort of thing with him on his channel. If you want to go over and check that out, he's got a phenomenal Game & Watch collection, as well as all the Vectrexes that he has and things like that. Amazing stuff. I've got a Vectrex myself which I need repairing still. It's been 3 bloody long years at the moment and it's still not repaired, so I'm planning on getting that done by the time the year is out, so desperately need to get that done. He has worked on a few homebrew games. He's already done Big Blue, which is a great scuba diving game, which is sort of loosely based on Scuba Diver on the Spectrum, I think it was. I got to know a bit more of the backstory behind that because Chris developed that from ideas from his son, and his son had a lot of input into that, which I thought was great. He's basically given him kudos to say that, this is his idea that it was born from, and then Chris has gone on to make the game and build upon with all that. But the game's great, really, really good. It's you start off in your boat, you select an area, and then you dive down. You got fish, you got eels that swim by, and sharks, and you got to dive down, and you got to try and find keys, and then you got to go to another area and see there's a treasure chest there. Sometimes there's nothing on the surface of the sea, so you go back up and you go and try another area until you find the chest. You unlock that, and once you've done that, I think there's 2 or 3 chests all in all on the first lot. Once you've done that, you sort of beat that round, and then you've got to dive deeper, and it gets more tougher and tougher. So it's sort of I think the aim, because I didn't get too far on it, I think the aim is that you get more replay value out of it because it gets harder as you complete each round, and then you've got to dive deeper and try and avoid things. I'd imagine things get faster, like the sharks, the eels, and more sort of enemies on screen at once and things like that. Amazing game. They also had Vectrex Moon Patrol running, which was great. That was really, really good, that port was. I think it was probably finished. That wasn't by Chris. I believe he said that wasn't one of his games, but he had it there running, which is awesome. He's also working on Bandito versus Sheriff, which is obviously Sheriff, as I was saying, Alex from Nintendo Arcade has got one of the rarest cabs in the world, basically, and he's doing a port of that on the Vectrex, and that was really, really good. Fantastic the way he put that together, it looked great. And not to forget Jim from Vectrex as well, who not only did he have his Vectrex there, he was responsible for some of the games. I can't remember the games that he's worked on apart from Nox. I think it is NOX. So that's one of his that he's worked on. And he also had his laptop there with MAME on, and he had a Vec Fever cart, which I think allows you to, the idea is that basically you can stream things from your computer to the Vectrex. So all the Vectrex main games that are on MAME, he could, like Star Wars and things like that, you'd be able to play that on the Vectrex, and it was absolutely incredible. We had it working with a mouse. The mouse, I believe, was connected to the laptop. It wasn't controlling the Vectrex itself. The Vectrex was just displaying what was going on, and it looked absolutely incredible. I was blown away playing that. I grin from here to here. It was amazing, brilliant. And there's loads and loads of other vector-based games, like there's Black Widow and stuff like that. So the potential for it is huge. It's amazing going forward for the Vectrex homebrew community. Incredible stuff. Craig did mention that one of the things that people felt was missing from the last couple of years at the event, obviously this is Craig Turner, the organiser, saying that people said that there weren't indie games there, and for me, indie games, going to places like Play Blackpool, Play Expo and things like that, I felt it sort of had no place at these retro events because it's mainly based on the retro, and Craig's always been heavily focused on the retro side of things at the event, so I was a bit worried about what to expect when we got there and found out what there was, but there was really nothing to worry about because it was mostly homebrews that were dedicated to retro games and consoles, which amazing. Got to see some Mega Drive games, which there was Crypt the Necromancer? I'll have to let you know. I'll let you know about that shortly because I did get a poster from it. I don't know where that's gone at the moment. But that was a Mega Drive homebrew game which is being worked on at the moment. It's being made, and I had to go on that, and it was a great dungeon crawler game, first person dungeon crawler, and got to speak to the developer behind that, giving some ideas towards it, because I felt that in that sort of thing, you know, you have more things that you can pick up, and you can get maybe pick up scrolls and cast magic and things like that would be a nice touch to it. And there was Tanglewood, which was a beautiful Mega Drive game that's in development still at the moment. It's made by one young man on his own, and it's inspired by the likes of Sonic and a few other Mega Drive games, and there are videos and articles on it on YouTube, and it was a lovely game to play. Very, very nice game indeed. I enjoyed playing that. And there was also Asobi Tech, where there was this cat game where it sort of reminds me a lot of the likes of Space Harrier, but you use your hand as a little sensor bar underneath a little box, and you move your hand up and down to control the cat. You've got to move it around and over obstacles and move things, and that was very cool. I didn't have a go on it because I didn't really feel comfortable playing that one. There was so much that I wanted to see and do anyway. And one of the best homebrew things there, ice cold beer, this gigantic electromechanical arcade machine, twin stick thing, which you could see on the last Retro Revival video that I did. There was a homebrew version on it by Jim, who had the Vectrex there with the MAME I was just talking about, and his one was called Pollinator, so it was like his homebrew version of this, and it was incredible. It was really, really nicely done. It was slightly easier than Ice Cold Beer, but Ice Cold Beer is a very, very hard game, so saying that it was easier doesn't mean that it was an easier game by any stretch of the imagination. It was still a tough game. You'll see that in the video, in the walkarounds. Great game. That was as popular as Ice Cold Beer itself, because Ice Cold Beer is a bit of a showstopper. Again, lots and lots of traders down in the second conference room as well. There was DJ Echo there from Amiga fame, I think he was, who worked on a lot of Amiga music, and he's worked on other games as well, and does a lot of house techno sort of music, so doing live sets while he was there, which was great. They had a covers band who did songs about indie games, which was pretty cool. Like, there was sort of slightly punk sort of punk style band, if you like, but sort of like more like the Clash rather than Blink-182, sort of, you know, old school proper punk, which is not really my type of thing, if I'm honest. But you know, it was quite nice to hear the lyrics while I was pottering around playing a few different arcade machines, but then mostly going back to Gyrus again. And there was some awesome talks put on by Retro Asylum. Hats off to you guys, you did absolutely brilliant. They got in, they had the Rare team, ex-Rare staff, who went on to form Playtonic, who did Ukulele, and there was a great talk by them. They were happy to talk about the old Rare days and the older game like Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark and things like that. So that was a really, really interesting panel that we went to, and they've got some more games in development, but they couldn't talk about them, which you can appreciate. There was also a panel, there was a Dibs presentation panel, which seemed a bit out of place, because it was basically they're trying to say that they are the future answer to trading games and things like that on the website, which, yeah, had my interest, but it's more catered for modern game at the moment, which is the Xbox One, PS4 and the Switch. The Switch being the only one of the three that I'm interested in. And basically you send in your games to, you post them in. If you agree to swap with someone else, they will test the games for you. So you pay postage for the games to go through to be tested, and then you pay postage for them to be sent out, which it's not too expensive, and you know, you save money really by doing it. They are considering adding other things to the catalogue if it takes off and it does enough interest, with things like the Spectrum Next games which are being released, like Adrian Cummins did Dungeonette, which I got to try on Craig Turner's Spectrum Next, which was absolutely fantastic roguelike dungeon crawler. And I also got to play Baggers in Space, Jim Bagley in Space, which was a combination of Thrust, was it Thrust? No, it's not Thrust, a combination of Jetpack and another game. I can't quite remember what the other game was, but that was a very, very good game. It was nicely done. And there was also a shooter, I think it was called Warhawk or something like that, possibly. That was another very nice game that's coming along for the Next. I'd love to have a Spectrum Next. They're not too dear, they're not too expensive. Jim Bagley and Co are planning on doing, hopefully anyway, they're planning on doing another run of them, so if we pester him enough, then hopefully he'll be able to start doing some more of them so people can get their hands on a Spectrum Next. So I'd love to have one of those go forward, because the capabilities of it are absolutely incredible. And that was one of the panels, the Spectrum Next panel, with Simon Butler, Lyndon Davis, I think it might have been, or Linton Davis. I can't remember everyone's name from the Spectrum panel. Obviously Jim Bagley was there as well, and that was a fantastic panel, really good fun to go to that. I missed out on the Commodore panel, which I really wanted to go to, being a massive Commodore fan, being a Commodore kid when I was younger, but that was on a Sunday and I didn't have enough time to do every panel and go to every talk. Of course, I got to meet up with a load of great friends there, which was awesome, and a couple of YouTubers, and obviously other podcasters and things like that. It was great to bump into a load of people. The traders, the prices were a bit, they wasn't great. The prices weren't brilliant. A couple of the traders sort of, they take the stuff there and they just want to shift their stock and make the money. So, if you get there early enough on day one on the Saturday, there's the one guy that he does lots of backlit Game Boys, and he brings in, I think it's the Game Boy Shack or something like that. It brings in that Hyperboy Konami, like this beauty up here, which he probably will never see this video, but I would like to thank him for giving me one of his spare LED things here. So I've got another one of those so I can play this properly backlit, because they're very difficult to get and hold of, those small little balls for that. So he does fantastic prices normally. He's got obviously lots of Game Boy Advance. He has some NES games, SNES games, and he does his bargain things as well, where you can get games from £1, basically loads of Game Boy Advance games starting from £1. And it was sort of a bit potluck. Most of them are crap and you probably wouldn't want, but at least they were cheap. So the last thing to say is just talk about the after party that Craig and Co put on, which was great, because although it seems like quite a long day, 9:30 till 5:30, when you're there it goes by so quick, and there's so many people to talk to, so many things to do, so much to see, so much to play. Yes, I was there for the weekend, so I was there for most of the Sunday as well. I had to head off about 2:30, something like that, so I was there for most of the event. But normally when I go to these events I kind of feel like, why can't the event carry on and keep going, or why can't we go somewhere and carry on playing games, because you spend so long talking to people that normally you miss out on playing games a little bit. But I got the balance down just right this year. I managed to play enough games and talk to plenty of people. So at the after party was just perfect, because it was back at the venue again, back at the Bescott Stadium. A few of us got back there for sort of like 7 o'clock, 7:30 I got there, I think it was. The bar was still open. There was a curry or a chilli that we could have, which Craig got some caterers in to do, which was great. And we got to go on into the first room and play things, and I thought that would be the sort of time where I'll play more games and do quite a lot more, but I spent most of it just chatting and talking to people. I didn't really play many games apart from Paul Driscoll from RGDS and his friend. I sat down and played Bomb Man multiplayer with them. That was great fun. Really enjoyed playing that with them. That was on the PC Engine, which I didn't know had a multi-tap for it, interestingly enough, so that was good. So the only thing that was a slight shame about that, I get why they did it that way, because the food hall sort of bit, the canteen, is attached to the first conference room, but it would have been nice if we all went down to the second conference room, because that's where all the great stuff was. That was the room to be, so it would have been even better. I'm not saying it was a bad thing being in the first room, but it just would have been even better to be able to go down to the second room with all the arcade machines and things there, and I think we all would have had an even better time. But then saying that, it was more about us talking to our friends, catching up with fellow like-minded people and stuff like that, so can't really grumble at that, to be honest. So I would just like to say a huge thank you to Craig, his family and his friends, all the people that support him, to put on such an incredible event. For me, it is the very best event of the year, and I've been to quite a few different events. The only ones that I haven't really been to is, I haven't been to Geek, I haven't been to Play Margate, and I also haven't been to Nerg, which I'd love to go to Nerg one day because Nerg looks really good. And you know, maybe I'll be able to go there and check it out the one year. But for me, Revival is the most convenient. It's the one I live closest to. I only live an hour away from it, and for me personally, it is the very best event of the whole retro gaming events that go on throughout the year. So, you know, for those that have never been before and have denied about going, I highly recommend you go. And Craig has confirmed Revival for 2019, so, you know, hey! So, you know, in a year's time I'll be able to go back and do it all again, whole weekend doing it again, which is just awesome. You know, like I say, it's, you know, you can see how excited I am already about the thought of doing it. You know, it's a shame that it seems so far away because it's this time next year, but it does soon come round, and you know, it is the very best event. And I'm not just saying that, you know, a lot of other people say that too. A lot of other, you know, people that cover it on YouTube cover the event, and you know, you can't beat the atmosphere. The atmosphere is brilliant. So anyway, that's enough waffle from me, and let's crack on with the walkthrough, and then we'll call it a day with the video. So I hope you enjoyed it, hope you enjoy the walkthrough, and I'll catch you soon.
We have to be bitter or mild?
Banks's bitter, please, or whatever it is. How you getting on, Charlie?
Alright. Well, lost the life, it's alright.
I won't distract you too much, mate.
Maybe I'll see what Mexico they are. I
was just one of the best.
cheers, matey. Thank you. Much appreciated. Oh, did you find the Neo Geos? They're over that way. Oh, there's a couple of them together, isn't there? Oh, let's see if we can get John Romero on Wolfenstein 3D. Oh man, these look absolutely phenomenal. The 2 demon fronts there, apparently. I do like a bit of Pangaran. Good game. Although I never got into Wonder Boy. Wasn't one, or Bubble Bobble, to be fair.
That's Rogers there.
Oh, is it?
I think some of them.
I keep winning lately. Number one.
How you doing? You alright?
I'm doing fine, thanks. It's not my fault.
Awesome.
Honestly, I just had Nick look at me today only.
Was you in the Panda outfit earlier? Yeah, I should have tried to get you in that.
I'm afraid.
Right, Chris.
Is it really? No. the whole bunch again. Left and right.
How you doing, Chris? You alright?
Yeah. I mean, this is how the platform is. This is stuff like plants going out, and then we've got the red edition, which is the red drive cartridge. That's coming in a box with a rope. That's not different.
We'll be having a recharge, you glow it, you do another one. Pow! Recharge, you glow, you glow. Right, this rainbow.
The stuff blurs into it.
Nobody cuts the buttons, which is very attractive.